Sometimes theologians use this word recapitulation. It sort of means summing up or encapsulating. One of the ways I like to think about it is like one of those really famous roles that different actors or actresses play across time, like James Bond or Lady Macbeth. And each time an actor or actress takes one of those roles, what they're trying to do is embody what it means to be that character. They're trying to reimagine that character for a new audience. But what if someone took one of those roles and they didn't just reimagine it or add some slight nuance, but they actually changed the script? What if they changed the story entirely? Luke tells us this story about Jesus. It happens right after his baptism. He's praying, and while he's praying, this dove descends from heaven, and then this voice cries out and says, "You are my son, you're my beloved, and in you I'm well pleased." This is one of the places that Christians look to understand Jesus' identity as the Son of God. But those very words, Son of God, are used just a few verses later, but not to describe Jesus. See, right after this, Luke decides to tell us about Jesus' genealogy, his family tree. And he doesn't just trace it all the way back to King David or to Abraham. He traces it all the way back to the very beginning, all the way back to Adam. And he calls Adam a son of God. So if you've been tracking with the story thus far, you might start to get a little nervous because all of a sudden you have Jesus being compared to Adam, and you have this God who's saying he's well pleased, and you know where the story goes from there. And in fact, you'd be right to be nervous because right after this, Jesus is led out into the desert where he meets this other character, this character named Satan, or the accuser. And what Satan is trying to do is to get Jesus to relinquish, to forfeit that title, Son of God. See, he knows the script. He's played this role before, and so he starts to play the role that he knows. But Jesus isn't reading the same script as he is. In fact, he's rewriting it. See, Jesus refuses to give in to Satan. He refuses to listen to this voice who tries to tell him that his identity is anything other than Son of God and beloved, and Satan goes away empty-handed. And in doing this, Jesus isn't just retelling the story of Adam, he's rewriting the story of the cosmos. He's recapitulating. And he's actually doing something very interesting. He's playing the role of God. You see, to be the son of someone is not just to share their DNA or their chromosomes or their last name, it's to share in their identity. And so Jesus is actually sharing here in the identity of God and showing what it means and since the beginning to be the Son of God. See, one of the very first stories we have about God is about him going out into the desert and planting a garden, creating life where there was no life before. This is one of the stories of the creation of the world. And so now in Jesus, we have him doing something very similar, going out into the desert and bringing life where before there was only death. And this is the story of the recreation of the world, or the realignment. You know, the desert's a very scary place. It's very isolating, but it's also a place where we're very exposed. But it's also a place where we can't deny our true identity. Everything that we put our trust in or place our security in is gone, and we're left alone, exposed and isolated. And so it causes us to question what our identity really is. For Jesus, he knew that his identity wasn't in whatever any other voice wanted to say. It was in those words, "You are my son, my beloved, and in you I am well pleased." And so this year, as we tell this Jesus story again, as we begin the journey in Advent, which marks the beginning of the Christian year, we're offered the chance to do something very similar, to strip away whatever other voices have been telling us for the past year, to deny whatever sort of identity markers that other people want to place on us, and to begin the year by placing our hope, our trust, and our identity fully in the person of Jesus. We are invited into the wilderness of Advent, not to pick out the right tree or to make sure it has the appropriate number of presents stuffed underneath it, but to relinquish whatever other identities that we're clinging to. to let go of anything else that the world wants to tell us our life should be about. We're given the opportunity to tell the story that Jesus wrote. And we're given that opportunity to wait in hopeful expectation to see him face to face when he comes again.